Good evening, everybody, or should I say good afternoon, since it's still the afternoon where I am, even though I don't know if there's a 4 o'clock difference, or 4 o'clock is the evening, or 5 o'clock. I'm going to say 5 o'clock because there's still sun out. Welcome to Wrestleview Live, number 47, I believe it is. I can't see any graphics right now, but that's okay. We're here reviewing WWE Crown Jewel, live from Riyadh, name redacted. We're not sure where it came from. They never really mentioned Saudi Arabia tonight, but we're here to recap damn WWE Crown Jewel. It was a show. It was definitely a show.
It was a hot show.
But mercifully, I'm not alone. You're not going to just have to listen to me go through this whole entire thing by myself. I am joined by a very special guest, a very, very special guest. Not really a special guest. I mean, I'm technically the guest because he owns everything. You know, he's the Vince McMahon of this website. Mr. Paul Nemer, the owner, webmaster, Wrestleview.com. We got him here.
Thank you for the amazing intro. Better than Adam's, that's for sure. All right, let's talk about the show. Honestly, I mean, you said it was a show. I said it was a house show. You agree?
I would feel ripped off if I went to a house show like this.
This was a televised house show, so
no, there was good points to it. There was a lot of questionable things that happened as well. Things that.
Well, let's start off with the
long-lasting reference. Number one, before we start, I just want to say I'm very, very happy to be sitting here with you, Paul. But you know, I just want to mention that I have a Wrestleview shirt here, and the webmaster. Where's your Wrestleview shirt?
I don't have one.
Oh God, we got to fix this. We got to Christmas this year. The Christmas show. I think one of our donations should be we got to get Paul a Wrestleview shirt. We got to make this happen.
Or a Triple H Shawn Michaels shirt.
Oh, that even better. Even better.
Yeah.
All right. This show. Let's talk. It's something.
It's something. Let's talk about. We're going to talk about the main event after, but I want to talk about the World Cup tournament.
Okay. Yes.
3 words. What the fuck?
I couldn't even tell you. You know, like on my post-Raw show that I have with my wife Victoria, we talked ad nauseum about Crown Jewel and, you know, potential political fallout from it happening and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we talked about like this just feels like a really strange show. That the buildup has been bizarre. You know, even if it was just a regular pay-per-view, we'd be like, what is going on here? The only thing that had me excited was the potential for some really neat matches in this World Cup tournament. We had Seth Rollins and Bobby Lashley, which was really supposed to be Seth Rollins and John Cena initially. We had Kurt Angle and Dolph Ziggler. So right away, I'm thinking, my God, wouldn't that be great if we could see Seth Rollins and Kurt Angle? That would be a pretty darn good match. And on the other side, we had Jeff Hardy and The Miz and Rey Mysterio and Randy Orton. And I was like, God, wouldn't it be great if we had Rey Mysterio versus Jeff Hardy? I can't remember really ever seeing that match. And there was a couple dream matches. And then maybe like in the finals, Seth Rollins versus Rey Mysterio. Like, wow, you know, this has potential. This has potential, especially because at the tournament, it would dominate almost a good majority of the show. I would say about 3/4 of it. But like there's a potential here for some really good stuff. And they blew it. None of that happened.
Which makes me think, was John Cena scripted to win to begin with? And because of the whole thing, they had to do something about it and they really messed up at the end? Or was this the original plan to begin with?
I don't know. I mean, Kurt Angle, if John Cena was scripted to win, I mean, the natural, the best idea possible, I think, would be to have John Cena and Kurt Angle in the semifinals. But they beat Kurt Angle in the first round, so who knows what the script was? I don't know what the original plan was, and if I know anything about WWE, and I've been following, you know, actually recapping and in depth with it for over 10 years now with Wrestleview. If I know anything about them, everything's almost always a game day decision. So whatever their script was 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, when they had John Cena still on the card, it probably went through 15 different revisions before we got to the final product today. And I'd like to see some of those revisions because I would hope that they had better ideas than this.
Well, why don't you tell people exactly what happened at the end? Because I know there's a lot of people listening probably on their way from work or whatever. Sum up the ending of what happened with Shane McMahon winning and how Shane McMahon got involved to begin with.
Okay, well, yeah, this was an interesting thing. And if it's an angle, they played it off really well. It was supposed to be The Miz versus Dolph Ziggler. That's how this whole entire thing panned out. We had Rollins beat Lashley, Ziggler beat Kurt Angle clean, and then it was Dolph Ziggler beat Seth Rollins. No interference from Dean Ambrose. We don't see him anywhere. So Dolph Ziggler is in the finals to determine the best in the world. And then we had The Miz go through Rey Mysterio. He went through Rey Mysterio. He went through who else was it? Jeff Hardy. And then it's The Miz also. So The Miz versus Dolph Ziggler to determine the best in the world. Before the match starts, Miz attacks Ziggler, and he goes outside the ring, and just landing on the floor seemed to blow out his knee. Couldn't walk, couldn't stand. They had referees all around him, and it really did seem like legitimately everybody was scrambling around trying to figure out, what do we do? What do we do? I don't know. I think my gut says it was just a really good angle, and Miz did a really phenomenal job playing off this big injury, because it's like the whole premise is that if you lose in the finals, you get fired from SmackDown. So Miz is probably trying to preserve his job. So Shane's at ringside, and he goes, well, it's not going down this way. So he enters himself into the finals of the World Cup, this thing that they've built up on television for the past 3 weeks or so. And that's it. Shane McMahon beats Dolph Ziggler with coast to coast and wins. So Shane McMahon, technically, in a tournament that had Seth Rollins, Kurt Angle, Dolph Ziggler, Rey Mysterio, he's the best in the world, Shane McMahon. And he played it off like a heel, but at the end of the day, you just felt really like you got ripped off and like it was a cheap thing. I get that they're going to probably do a heel turn with Shane McMahon, but damn, that just felt lame.
Well, wasn't the thing that if nobody from SmackDown would win, they would not have a spot on SmackDown? Correct.
So I'm thinking Miz is trying to preserve his spot by just getting out of the match. Or he's conspiring with Shane McMahon. I don't know what the storyline is going to be.
What about Orton?
But I don't know. I felt after all the time they put into that to give us a crummy finish like that, it just wasn't for me. I wasn't feeling that whatsoever. I don't know what you thought of it, but it
was a very bad ending to the King of the Ring tournament. I don't know what to even call it, World Cup. Just make it King of the Ring and fucking just continue on with something people know.
Agreed.
King of the Ring tournaments have become lame over the last few years whenever they did them anyway. So this one's lame too. So why don't you just name it King of the Ring and continue? Like I said, I think John Cena, this World Cup tournament, I think it was, in my opinion anyway, it was just there just to be there. There was no continuous storyline to it until maybe now with Shane McMahon winning. I guess they came up with something. But I personally think that John Cena was scripted to win to begin with. And even though there's no benefit of him winning it, period, but it's just he's one of the greatest of all time. So just have him win and kind of like, okay, next. And with him not going there, I think they had to come up with a plan, and they came up with a shitty plan. Unless this was the plan to begin with from the get-go. And if this was, then fuck, they really dropped the ball on that one.
No doubt. And it's almost like, they made this long plane ride out. They made a big deal. They had Kurt Angle go on TV and say, and I get it, it's wrestling and everything is superlatives and building stuff up to some level that it really isn't. But to say, for Kurt Angle to say, oh, this means more to me than winning my gold medals, and he's out in the first round on a tournament that gets won by Shane McMahon, it's like, God, you just slaughtered your credibility. Slaughtered it. And it just, to me, I don't know. I can't properly put into words right now because I just finished watching this show, and it's just like, number one, it feels really weird to watch a show that starts at noon. And I went to Evolution this past Sunday with my wife, and we were late to the show because I haven't seen a show start at a normal time in over almost a month and a half, I would say. The last one I saw that started at a regular time was in September. And I forgot that they had the new start time, which is at 7. So we were late to the show. We got there at 8 thinking, oh my God, we got there at 7:30. We're like, oh, we're going to be so early. And we were a half hour late. It's just, I can't like wrap my head around watching wrestling and with all the craziness that went on with this show, plus all the bad booking. It's like, there's so much to talk about here, but I just wish I could put it properly into words, just why it's so damn bad.
Well, you said it yourself, it was a house show.
Yeah.
That's what
it was a house show with like big stars on it. So it was like a super house show. It was a house show on steroids. But at no point did I feel like I was watching like a Major League Wrestling broadcast. It was weird. Like even the way they were filming things tonight, it was just like, you know, they would get angles on people that just showed them absolutely whiffing punches and kicks. So I think like, you know, long plane ride over, it hurts the production values because everybody's tired. The wrestlers are tired. You could tell that there was some serious lag on some of these guys. Like even the matches that I thought had a chance to be good, like Ziggler and Rollins, it felt like they were laggy. You know, Styles and Joe, they had a good match, but it just never really got out of a certain gear. You know, like there was some intensity there, but it was just like, I just never really felt like they got past a certain level. The only match that really did was the damn main event.
You want to talk about the main event?
Well, I want to talk about another extraordinarily important thing that happened on the show. Something that, if you really think about it, it's just so tone deaf by WWE to send Hulk Hogan out there for his first show back since 2015, since July of 2015. 3 years, 3+ years, we haven't seen this guy. Got fired for the racist rant that came out from a sex tape that he. I don't even want to think about. Golly, but this is his first show back, and he got fired. He was scrubbed from the WWE records for the past 3 years. Finally makes his return. Half of the roster is, you know, not supportive of it, and they send him out there, real American, freaking blaring on the Saudi Arabia speakers. And this guy who was a social pariah to WWE is hosting the show in his first show back since 2015. I don't know. Like, you know, with everything going on with the Khashoggi murder and, you know, United States and their issues with Saudi Arabia right now, you send Hulk Hogan out. You know, WWE's already getting flack for this show, and you send Hulk Hogan out there, you know, Mr. We're all a little racist sometimes in our own way, out there to host the show? What?
Okay, let's talk about Hogan, and let's talk about them sending Hogan there. I agree and disagree at the same time. And where I disagree is this, you know, at the Greatest Royal Rumble, they had asked for Hogan, and WWE said, no, it's not going to happen, obviously, because they were still on bad terms, and he was still not with the company.
They also asked for Andre the Giant.
And they asked for Ultimate Warrior Yokozuna, yeah.
Yeah. Giant's been dead since 93.
Exactly. The thing is, Hogan's the biggest name in the business, in my opinion. The biggest name in wrestling, like him or not. Forget about his stupid racist shit that he's done. I'm just talking about the name Hulk Hogan is the biggest name in professional wrestling, past, present, future, in my opinion. And I'm not a big Hogan fan, but I have to admit that. And they wanted him a long time ago to be there. I mean, for them asking for Ultimate Warrior, Yokozuna, and asking for all these guys that have passed away, you know, they're stuck in the past. They don't know that these guys, and some of them passed away. We want Hulk Hogan. I don't care if he's 105 years old. We want to see Hulk Hogan because we grew up watching this guy.
Oh, yeah.
This was their thing. And I guess one of the reasons WWE went there, obviously, other than the money, and we'll get to that topic, I guess, is to entertain those kids in the audience, those fans. Those kids and those fans in the audience have nothing to do with that government. I mean, some of them don't share the same views. Some of them do. I don't know. But I mean, in the end, this wasn't a moneymaker for Saudi Arabia. This was a moneymaker for WWE. Saudi Arabia does not need 30 or 40 or $50 million. These guys are probably the richest country on the planet. They don't care about the money there. They just wanted a show. And these fans got, entertained. They wanted a form of entertainment. And they wanted to see some wrestlers that they've never seen before live. And Hogan was, I guess, the main guy on that list. So I could understand them sending him there, even though they had a lot of backlash, a lot of stuff. But I think I would have sent him there too. I mean, the guy's the biggest name. We're going. We took the decision that we're going, regardless, good or bad, we're going. So we have to have him. It's to entertain those kids in the crowd and those fans.
Oh, I get it. I get it. I'm down for entertaining kids and stuff like that. You know, I don't have a problem with them going over there and entertaining. And from day one, and whenever we talked about it, I always said it's not the people. It's the government there. And I get that this government is messed up. I mean, it came out today that they, you know, right as Crown Jewel was taking off, the headline came out that they dissolved Khashoggi and asked and I think I just glitched out there for a second, but they dissolved Khashoggi's body in acid. And, there's so much craziness going on. The relations are so tense that I'm not saying they shouldn't go there, and I'm not saying they shouldn't go back. I said that they should probably just postpone the damn show until everything kind of blows over. But I have no issue with them going, and entertaining children. My thing is that they did this thing in September with pediatric cancer. And they teamed up with Hyundai and they got all this money. And WWE is finally kind of taking that turn with, hey, we're not just some, white trash, targeting the lower denomination of society company. We are, a serious company. We are America's company. We love, helping people in charity work and all that stuff. And they finally made themselves seem really good. And then they do something sleazy by going, by taking the money, so to speak, when other companies are pulling out, and waiting for times to kind of just gloss over a little bit, and then to top it all off, they already took a PR hit. The stock has kind of come down. I don't think it's because of Saudi Arabia, but I think it could be a factor. It's not solely because of Saudi Arabia, but then you send out Hulk Hogan, who, everybody's still on the fence about. You could have done without Hulk Hogan. That's what I'm saying.
They could have done the show without Hulk Hogan. I mean, this show would not have a single impact on anything pro wrestling or US or whatever if Hogan wasn't there or was there. It's irrelevant. But this was just done purposely for the people in attendance and for what they want and who they wanted to see. And I think that's why they sent Hogan, because they requested Hogan to at the Greatest Royal Rumble and they couldn't provide him. So
right.
Part of the deal, and this is why I guess they came to term with Hulk Hogan, is after his apology, the whole blah 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 thing. They brought him back to kind of bring him, pave the way for him to come back and bring him to Saudi Arabia. This wasn't Hogan's not going to be on Raw tomorrow night, Monday night. He's not going to be on SmackDown Tuesday night. This is like a one-time thing, one-time appearance. He might show up at Mania for an appearance or something, but he's not going to be on TV, period. I don't even see him being on TV at all. So this was done purposely for Crown Jewel.
Yeah, I'm with it.
The fans there. For us, we don't care if he's there or not. Nobody cares. No,
but it is what it is. It happened. I still think it was just a little, just if you're going to take a PR hit, you want to at least, not double up and put shoot yourself in the foot too at the same time.
Yeah. Well, which is why also they never really advertised Hulk Hogan much, WWE. I mean, it was pretty much the media, us and everybody else. I kind of said, oh, Hogan's coming back and he's going to be at Crown Jewel. WWE wasn't the first to report it. So maybe this is another thing where WWE didn't want to really advertise it as much, even though it's public.
Right, because they themselves know that okay, we advertise Hogan, there's going to be some kind of backlash too.
Exactly, because
that's why they didn't say Saudi Arabia on the broadcast. That's why they didn't say Saudi Arabia for the past 2 or 3 weeks on WWE television as well.
Exactly, but believe me, if that whole thing in the Saudi embassy in Turkey never happened, they would have advertised Hulk Hogan, I think. I think they would have really publicized the shit out of Hogan, saying, he's going to be there, watch him. Hulkamania's coming back for one night, tune in. It does no harm to kind of advertise Hulk Hogan. But because of what happened and what you said, that's why they never advertised him, really.
Yeah. That's the questionable thing. But it is what it is. It happened. We move on from it. There were some good things on the show, though, so I don't want to just totally crapola on the show. I really did. I liked Rey Mysterio. I liked the match that he had with The Miz. I thought they did a pretty darn good job. Even the short Rey Mysterio Randy Orton match to begin with. They kicked it off short, but the beatdown was good. Rey always is awesome. Selling for big guys and looking like an underdog, and he looked great against The Miz. He came up short, but Rey Mysterio looks better than he has in years. I got to see him at All In. He was moving around better than I've seen him, and he's come back. He's got a lot of fire because those last few years in WWE, he was definitely lagging. So it was nice to see him kind of step back up and get excited for big stuff again. I also like the Styles match and Joe.
It was a good match. It was a good match, but I mean, it's a match we put on a house show now because their feud's done. The feud was done anyway. They had to kind of bring in an opponent.
I agree. I did see them. I did see them at a house show have a similar match to this. They added in a few extra things with the suicide dives and things like that. It's like they did their usual house show match, but they just hit each other harder because it's TV. They were definitely busted up pretty good by the end of it. But on a show where they were kind of blowing through quarterfinal matches and the semifinal matches had some interesting finishes, but they were a little better, I guess you could say. The WWE Championship match at least saved face a little bit.
Yeah, it was a good match. Overall, it was a good match, but it was I think the result was what everyone expected. I don't think a single human being alive that watches wrestling anyway would have even said that Samoa Joe was winning the title.
No, yeah.
It was a no-no. Let's talk about Universal Championship. 3 minutes and 16 seconds, and we got a brand new Universal Champion from bell to bell. It took 3 minutes, 5 F5s, and Brock Lesnar is your champion. I don't know. If Reigns was still around, I think Reigns obviously would have still retained his title. So this is proof that they're not ready to put the belt on Braun Strowman. I don't think they ever will anymore after the last few times where they kind of, went to the championship match and then boom, they kind of just drop him. So I don't think Braun Strowman is going to be champion anytime soon.
Yeah, I was really surprised by this. I mean, they turned Strowman face. Right after, really the week before, it was kind of advantageous that they turned him face like that. When they turned him heel initially, I was like, God, he's one of the more over guys in the company. Like, why would you turn him heel? And he finally breaks away from McIntyre and Ziggler, and he turns face. And I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And then Roman Reigns unfortunately goes down with leukemia. Now Raw is without their top star. Whether you liked him or you didn't, Roman Reigns got the best reaction of anybody on any show, Raw, SmackDown, the loudest reaction. So now we have a 3-hour Raw where like nothing, there's like big gaps now because it's not being filled up with Roman Reigns and whatever he's doing. So we're scrambling for a top star. And at least if we don't have a top star, at least we'll have a title for everybody to kind of fight over so we can kind of find the next top star who's going to help us carry into the future or whatever until Roman Reigns comes back, if and when he does. And instead they give the title to Brock Lesnar. So now we're going to be without the title for fall and winter minimum. Hopefully he'll be back for WrestleMania, but now we're going to have a whole bunch of guys who aren't top guys like Roman Reigns is, wrestling with no objective in mind, no clear objective, because there is no championship. There's no actual point for anybody to be having matches. And if Brock Lesnar's not on TV, they do the exact opposite of what you should do with that. Where, like, if I had Brock Lesnar as champion and he wasn't going to be on TV, I'd at least send Paul Heyman out every week to say, like, just a reminder, Brock Lesnar's still the champion, just to kind of, nothing. They ignore it as if he doesn't even exist until he makes his return. It's like, oh, here's the Universal Champion. But when you're watching matches, like, there should be like an overarching theme. Like, okay, yeah, there can be grudge matches, but every now and then, like, you're having a random match on Raw. Why are they doing this? Because they're trying to move up in the standings or whatever, or impress somebody to get a championship match. We're going to be without a championship match and without a top star for the fall and winter minimum. I just don't think that's a good idea. I don't think so. And even though Strowman's not the answer, in my opinion, at least we have the title on the show, and we can have the big monster heel and, who's going to be on TV every week at least. I just thought it was really, really poor. Really poor.
It was a poor, it was a very poor match. And honestly, I'm not surprised. I was wrong where I was telling Adam before the show. I said, the title's still going to be vacant after Crown Jewel. That's what I had predicted. Something was going to happen. It was going to be a draw or something, because Lesnar is a part-timer, and I don't even know if he has any days left with WWE. I'm not sure. And Strowman is just, it's obvious they're not putting the strap on him. So it's kind of like, okay, what's happening? So they actually decided to put the strap on Lesnar until they figure out who their next star is.
Yeah, and you know, I see, you know, CJ Bowman in the chat saying Strowman, Rollins, Ambrose, Elias. We don't have top stars. No, we don't. They're not top stars. Sorry.
No,
they're definitely not.
Even Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins, I think, is probably the best wrestler on Raw. The most.
No doubt. I think he's one of the best wrestlers in the world.
Exactly. I'm not gonna disagree on that one. But Rollins, you know what? He was better as a heel. Not in terms of a performer, like in ring ability. I'm talking about his character. He's just, I don't know. I feel you have to turn him heel and give him the belt.
He has a good connection with the crowd. But if you're going to, you know, make this guy, you know, like I thought when they built the show around him when he was a heel in 2015, he did a good job with it. And unfortunately, he went down with a knee injury and never really got to finish that out. But you know, he as a face, he's done okay. You know, it's been good. I love his matches. I loved his Intercontinental Championship feud, but they made it clear, you know, this guy is always going to be, you know, your Intercontinental guy. He's not going to be the world champion again as long as Roman Reigns is here. Well, now Roman Reigns is not here. You know, so if you're going to make, you know, if you're going to find a top star, you have to start treating somebody like a top star. And I'm sorry, losing to Dolph Ziggler with a screwy finish in a World Cup semifinal is not top star making qualities. And that's showing me that they don't have, you know, tons and tons of faith. Now, I'm sure him and Ambrose are going to be carrying WWE Raw house shows and Raw pay-per-views or Raw main event pay-per-view matches into the fall and winter with their blood feud, basically, because they built it up well, and I'm sure they'll be having great matches. But, you know, even though it's a prop, I get it. Wrestling is still built around the belt. And if you don't have the belt, you're just not that guy.
Exactly. And I think if you look at SmackDown for a minute, Styles is their champ. Do you see anybody else holding that belt other than Styles on SmackDown?
Other than Styles on SmackDown?
Yeah. And I'm asking you that question because in case there's the draft and you want to put the belt on somebody on Raw for Universal title, someone to carry Raw, who is it going to be from SmackDown?
Man, I don't know. I don't know who's going to emerge. You know, it's like.
But let's say SmackDown was the whole roster right now, and forget Raw. Who can you put the strap on SmackDown other than AJ Styles right now?
Yeah, you could do Samoa Joe. You know, you could do Samoa Joe and get away with it. You can have a face, you know, AJ Styles, and you know Samoa Joe as the monster guy who, you know, has some good moves. When you see him, like I always, you know, I'm kind of the Vince McMahon mindset when I think of like the top star. You know, it's like, oh, you want your top star to be like a guy you look at and say, like, I could legitimately see this guy beating somebody up. Okay. Like when I look at Samoa Joe, I'm like, this guy looks legit. Like he could really, you know, put a hurting on somebody. I know a lot of people make fat jokes about him and remember the Scott Steiner promo from a gazillion years ago. He's not that Samoa Joe. This is a different Samoa Joe, and some people are just kind of typecasting him to a spot. You got Daniel Bryan as well. That could definitely carry the show. You know, I know they're a little trepidatious about giving him a run with his injury history and his comeback, but you know, maybe Daniel Bryan's just that other guy.
Here's my question, though. Here's my question: did it hurt Daniel Bryan not to go to Saudi Arabia? I'm talking about a WWE standpoint here, not the media, not the backlash, I'm talking about Vince McMahon's like, he doesn't want to go to our show. Fuck him. We're gonna fucking bury him. He hasn't been champion in 2-3 years. He's gonna be a mid-carder from now on, and people will still be doing this while he's a mid-carder.
Possible. It's possible. Vindictiveness is a core tenet of WWE management, I believe. And from anybody you listen to, granted, some people are just bitter, people that didn't make it in the company, but there are some people that are like, yeah, they're definitely bitter. You know, like I think about, you know, Rob Van Dam. You know, I mentioned this on the podcast this past Monday. You know, Rob Van Dam, when they were going to go to Baghdad in 2003 in Iraq and entertain the troops, they did a SmackDown taping there, and they said, anybody who wants to, who doesn't feel safe going, who doesn't feel comfortable going, you don't have to go. Okay, and whoever, you know, there will be no ramifications if you back out. Rob Van Dam raises his hand, and guess what? He was definitely, you know, thought less of, and kind of just mid-carded to death from there on out until 2006, and then they kind of put him on top again. Then he smoked some weed and he was out. Yeah, that's just how it happens. Yeah, I think there could be some backlash. I don't know if they can afford to, you know, drown another guy who's looked at as a major star right now.
But since he came back, they've been treating him like a mid-carder. So right now they have a reason to continue.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think they've been reestablishing him. Like I'm of the opposite view. I think they've been reestablishing him. You know, you put him in a match with, you know, big cast to start off his, you know, comeback and stuff like that. You know, just kind of reestablish. Like, yeah, Daniel Bryan's a guy. He's making his way through the SmackDown ranks and stuff like that. He was in a WWE Championship feud up until Tuesday. You know, it was going to be AJ and Daniel Bryan. Well, you know, so I don't think that this could be a setback for him. It very well could be, but you know, I don't think that they weren't treating him right. At least,
I don't know. I think they weren't treating him right to begin with. Since he came back, it's just he's been.
Well, they never treated him right before he left.
Yeah,
you could make that argument.
True.
They captured lightning in a bottle for, you know, a couple months in 2014. He got the main event of WrestleMania, you know, one of the all-time great moments in my opinion, and injured shortly after. They didn't really put much trust in him when he came back, and then he got injured again, and now he's back. It's like you can't run with this guy. So I think if we had to choose one guy from SmackDown, just one, Randy Orton's too old.
And not over. Forget the age.
Yeah. He just
is connecting with the fans anymore. Whether it's he's a face or a heel.
Yeah. He's a guy that goes through the motions. I think sometimes, you know, he knows that he's making good money right now, and he wants to stay in it as long as he can. Should he stay in it as long as he can? Probably not. But you know, everybody needs a little reset every now and then. But I think if we had to pick one guy, it's got to be Samoa Joe right now. That's about it. Yeah, Miz maybe. Miz
is like Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
It's the opposite though. Seth Rollins could actually, well, I'm not saying Miz is a bad wrestler. Miz is a great wrestler. But Seth Rollins is far more superior than the Miz when it comes to talent in the ring. On the microphone, the Miz. And I don't know. I'm not trying to compare them, but I'm comparing them at the same time. I think these two are the same. They're not going to put the strap on Rollins, just like they're not going to put the strap on the Miz.
Yeah, they're not going to run with either one of them, I think. You know, and I do think they should at least give Seth Rollins a shot. But you know, it's the Roman Reigns thing hurts in more ways than one. Of course, you know, on a human level, you know, you just really feel for the guy. You know, and now as fans of the product, you know that it hurts them, you know, because they don't have a star. And they've put so much into building up Roman Reigns that they've run through everybody else just to make sure that, you know, there's only one solution, one answer, and it's Roman Reigns as your top guy. So they got to do some scrambling and try to figure this out, because, you know, Roman Reigns, we don't know if it's going to be 6 months. We don't know if it's going to be a year. Some people think 2 to 3. Some people think, you know, less than that. We don't know the effects of his treatments, if it will negatively impact his body. The guy's 33 years old. You know, he last went through this thing at 22. We don't know if it could impact him in a way that he may never be able to come back and be what he was. So he might return. He might not be a top guy. So there's a lot of questions. There's more questions than answers right now. And giving Brock Lesnar the championship just creates even more questions and more holes in their show.
Well, if you want to think about it, putting the belt on Braun Strowman, like I said, it's a no-no. So who do you put the belt on? Do you make it a no contest, keep the title vacant until you come up with your next star? No. So while you're waiting for your next star, let's temporarily not vacate the title, put the belt on Lesnar, part-timer like he's always been, and just wait till we make our next star, and then boom, have him, you know. I think they made the right decision going with Lesnar today, in a way. And don't get me wrong, I'm not for putting the belt on him right now, but the situation they're in, they don't have a top star. They don't have a star right now. So instead of vacating the title or putting it on Strowman, let's just put it on Lesnar since he's still credible, even though he's a part-timer. But when Lesnar's name is mentioned, it's like, fuck, So let's put it on Lesnar instead of vacating that title until we come up with our next star, and then have Lesnar drop it in 2-3 months' time, or I don't know when.
I guess. But I mean, if he's going to be doing UFC in January, he's not going to be back for Royal Rumble and stuff like that. The very next time we see Lesnar very well could be WrestleMania. So, it's just a long time. I mean, WrestleMania is still a little less than 6 months away. That's half a year. Let's just round it up and say it's 6 months. That's a long time to be without a champion and a championship. I think you got to, you have Braun Strowman as a face. Why did you turn him other than, and really go with him this week? They really, really went hard with him on Monday. Why turn him if friggin' he's not going to get the title? That's a guy that they protected for quite some time, even over Reigns. They made sure that Reigns didn't beat on him too much because Braun Strowman had that kind of aura. He had that connection with the crowd, I would say. Why not just give him a chance and let him run with this thing? Send Lesnar back to UFC, and when he's ready to return and can actually do matches more than once every 6 months now, why not just give him the title? Unless something happened in Lesnar's training camp and he realized, I'm in my 40s and I can't go the way I used to, so maybe, give me the title because I'm not really going to go back to UFC. I'm going to call off my match. Who knows? I don't know. There's that possibility too. There
is, but I don't think. I think Lesnar really wants to go back to UFC and he wants to fight one more time, or at least.
Of course he does, but I mean, Lesnar's also. I think he's a guy that doesn't want to embarrass himself either. And if he sees I'm in my training camp, I'm sparring with these guys, and I'm not really dominating the way I used to, and I don't think I have it. Maybe it's like I can still make just as much money in WWE.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, like I said, a lot of questions, more questions than answers right now.
Let's talk about the main event.
Oh yes, let's talk about the main event. Who okay, it kind of reminds me. Did you see the movie Get Out?
No.
Okay. All right. So basically the premise of Get Out is that they kidnap these people who are athletically fit. I think almost everybody they kidnapped in the movie was black. It was like this white family kidnapping black people, and they were taking their the portion of their mind that gives them thought and putting it into these bodies. So you're really old and you're decrepit, and you basically are rejuvenated with this brand new body, and you can kind of live forever that way. It was a horror movie, and I felt like that Shawn Michaels kind of got kidnapped, but instead of taking his brain, they kept Shawn Michaels' body and put an old guy's head on it. It was really strange. Bald Shawn Michaels, skull cap just around the back. I was like, oh my God, I can't, it's like I was watching this thing. I was like, okay, Shawn Michaels is coming out of retirement for this first match since March of 2010. And it's 3:00 in the afternoon right now. And this is his first match back on a show that nobody's watching, that nobody really wanted, that everybody kind of was against happening in the first place. It felt so odd. It just wasn't a big deal whatsoever. So bizarre to see Shawn Michaels there wrestling. I don't know.
And the funny part is they won today, and Triple H won in Australia. Seems like these guys just don't want a job, even to old timers.
I know, yeah, right. It's like, and of course they got to be the main event.
That's a snake that never changes its stripes.
No, that one is that was something else. But vintage Shawn Michaels and Triple H. I know, and I know that Paul was not a fan of the DX reunion. I know that Shawn Michaels coming out. I'm sure you're happy to see he lost all of his hair and looks like Adam Martin now. So vengeance is sweet. Karma caught up with him.
Yeah,
he just looks weird bald. I don't know. It just looked like he just looked old in the ring. Now, that's not to say he looked bad. That's not to say that his performance was bad. I actually thought that Shawn Michaels had a competent performance. He's not obviously Shawn Michaels from,
yeah. I still think he can out wrestle half the guys on the roster today.
He's smarter than most guys. His instincts are still good. The one thing that was bad about the match, the only negative about the match really, was Undertaker. He looks so slow, so bad. His instincts, his reaction time in the ring is really, really poor. I was watching him just take kicks in the corner, and he wasn't reacting to them. He's just like,
this is the first time, I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time in 10 years the Undertaker wrestles more than once a year. He's wrestled 3 or 4 times this year. He has wrestled Australia, Crown Jewel, WrestleMania, and Greatest Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I think the last time might have been 2015, because I know that he had the SummerSlam match with Lesnar, and they had kind of like a series of matches.
2 matches.
Yeah, they had 2 matches, and he had the WrestleMania match against Bray Wyatt as well.
3.
Yeah,
he's this year.
Yeah, he's up to 4. Yep.
Yeah.
Or is it more? I don't know. Did he have a few more this year?
No, 4 matches. Greatest Royal Rumble.
Well, WrestleMania. Greatest Royal Rumble.
The Australia match just last month.
And, yes, he also had a house show at Madison Square Garden as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think he's up to 5. Big time.
Which is Undertaker's been wrestling like once a year for the last 10, 15 years. So
yeah, and there's a reason.
Yeah, there's a big reason.
You keep throwing him out there and exposing that. Yeah, he's not the Undertaker that you used to see. He's just an old dude, an old broken down guy. He's at that point right now where it's like, he's moving to like, it's probably an extreme example, but he's like moving to like Terry Funk level. It's like, okay, how much longer are you going to go? Because it's kind of getting sad to watch. I love the Undertaker. Undertaker was my guy for basically as long as all my memories of wrestling. He debuted in 1990. I was born in 1987, so all my conscious memories really are of wrestling. At least the Undertaker's been involved in some way, shape, or form. It's tough to see him just go out there and meander through a match and take bad whips into barricades and stuff like that, and not react to kicks and just look like a shell of his former self. It's not fun to watch. And like right after the show, they showed this like clip of like Mick Foley, saying like, oh, like when I was really heavy, they didn't want me on the show because I looked like I was moving around so bad that it reminds people of their own problems. It's like, I don't want to do that. And it's like, well, Undertaker is kind of like reminding us of our mortality right now. And I'd rather just leave the memories alone with Undertaker.
Yeah, Vince McMahon doesn't want to let it go right now. Undertaker is Vince McMahon's greatest creation and favorite creation.
Oh, no doubt. And
he's going to milk it to the last second till Undertaker's in a walker probably.
But if you really think about it, like they haven't really established any real stars. Like they have to keep going back to the Undertaker because there's, it was Roman Reigns or bust, and they didn't build really anybody else up that wasn't already kind of established, like AJ Styles and Samoa Joe. They were already established. So they came in with a following, but they haven't really built somebody from scratch like they did with Roman Reigns, so they have to keep going back to Undertaker and Kane and Triple H and Shawn Michaels and begging these people to come out of retirement or have one-off matches. It's sad. It's really a big, bad look on the company. Like we haven't built anybody up.
The average age today was, I think, 52 or 50.
Yeah.
50. Sorry. So, I don't know what to say anymore. Taker now is obviously going to wrestle at WrestleMania. Hopefully, it will be his very last WrestleMania.
The Reigns match should have been his last match because that was sad too.
For sure. In my opinion, against Brock Lesnar, it should have been over. He should have been done. That's it. Peace out. Dude, he was finished. With all respect to Taker, I think he's the best guy they've ever had. Well, not they've ever had, but one of the best guys they've ever had in the WWE. But he's old. He's done. Once your guy wrestles once a year, it should tell you enough. That's like, okay, he's finished. He cannot go even a part-time schedule. So now he's going to Mania for sure. There's no way WrestleMania is gonna happen without the Undertaker. Hopefully it's his retirement match. But retirement match against who? And what? And how? And why? I mean, have him lose for a 3rd time at Mania? Then you just took his streak and you fucking just not just flushed it. You fucking crapped on it too.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I would understand him losing to Brock, and that's it, and then possibly maybe losing a second time to Roman Reigns, and that's it. Keep it like that. Okay, fine. 2 losses out of what, 21 or 22, whatever. That's it. But now he's going to lose a third time. There's no way he's going to win his retirement match, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. It's I don't know who would be the one to finally end Taker. I would have to assume it would have to be either Triple H or Shawn Michaels this time. You know, that's it. You know, I do think it should have been. I think they should end it with somebody young on the roster. You know, somebody who could really benefit from the win. But I don't know who that is anymore. I don't know who that guy is. If anything, it was Roman Reigns, and they, for all intents and purposes, it was a retirement angle in 2017. And then he thought that he could still go. And you know what? He's like the old boxer. It's like watching Mike Tyson come out of retirement and face that Irish guy that he faced in his last boxing match. And he was completely embarrassed by this guy who, in Tyson's heyday, he would have fucking flossed with him. He would have murdered that guy. Yeah. And instead, you know, he got embarrassed. He's like the old boxer who doesn't know when he's had enough. He's taking punches. He's punch drunk. It's like, it's time to go. It's time to hang it up. Unfortunately, the money beckons, and as long as they're willing to pay him, he's going to take it. I would guarantee you, Undertaker's probably made more this year doing his one-off matches than he probably made when he was full-time in 1 year at the top in his heyday. And I would say the same thing for Shawn Michaels. I bet he made more in this match than he probably made in '96. I'm not kidding.
Probably, yeah. There was a big payoff. Now, people in the chat are saying Undertaker's retirement match. Some guys saying HBK, some guys saying Triple H, Daniel saying Triple H. Then he said The Rock, Strowman, Rollins. Everybody's naming everybody. I can guarantee you it's not going to be The Rock beating The Undertaker at Mania.
No.
Triple H won't let that happen. Triple H wants to be the guy that beat him.
Neither will the insurance companies.
Yeah. So we'll see where that goes. Overall, on a scale of 1 to 10.
Easily the easiest thumbs down I've ever given a show. I would say basement level, you know, I would give it a 2 because of the main event.
Not even a Bret Hart 4 on 10?
I'll get a 4 on 10. I'll get a 4 on 10 because really, Bret Hart gives the 4 out of 10. You know, being facetious, he really means 0. But
he's trying to be nice.
Yeah, but Bret Hart is very abrasive, and his social cues are always off. He doesn't really get the nice thing down pat. So, yeah, I gotta say it's a solid thumbs down for me. This was Daniel Shell asking if it's a TNA Impact pay-per-view is better. No, this was still better than TNA. But for the standards of WWE, for all the backlash that they got for going there, they went, and this was a real popcorn fart of a pay-per-view.
It was, definitely. I really, my message to WWE is this. Go wherever you want, do these kind of shows as much as you want, but at least do them with continuous storylines. Do them with some type of results, some type of stuff people can enjoy, Not a single title change except the vacated title. At the Greatest Royal Rumble, there was one title change. It was the vacated title, the tag titles.
Right.
Kind of obvious, like they were forced to have a title change, or else there would have never been a title change on any one of these shows. And that's stupid. When you book a show like that, regardless of the place, the Crown Jewel or the Greatest Royal Rumble or this or that, do a nice show. Have title changes, have world title changes, have a championship match change. I don't know, do something. Make it good.
Yeah.
It is a pay-per-view. It is on the network. So regardless,
I agree. And I have to say, the only, like I said, I named a couple positives. I want to name like 2 more positives. I want to name the fact that they didn't give in to pressure. The one thing that they held firm on was they weren't going to make themselves a propaganda piece for the Saudi government to say how progressive they are. So there was none of that tonight. They didn't mention Saudi Arabia. And the other positive thing was they had Renee Young on the show. And I caught a little flack on Twitter for the way I said it, but I mean it. commentary is a performance. She's showcasing her skills. She's performing. They're not really commentating on a real sport. They're being told to perform perform their lines and say what Vince McMahon wants them to say. She was a female that went to Saudi Arabia and got to perform. If you told me back in April when we did the Greatest Royal Rumble that Renee Young would be the first female from WWE to perform on a Saudi Arabia show, I'd say you're crazy. But I do believe what she did was a performance, and my hat's off to her for going into a place. I'm sure it couldn't feel very comfortable or be
very uncomfortable actually.
Yeah. So to go out and do that, my hat's off to her at least. But still, I got to give this pay-per-view a thumbs down.
There's nothing against the rules in Saudi Arabia to have a woman broadcast something or announce something, as long as she's properly dressed for them. Mm-hmm. And she's not performing in the ring kind of thing, or she'd still perform on the microphone, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's a positive. That's a definite positive, and I could at least say we talked about some positive things on the show.
Yeah. Did we miss anything else on the show? I mean, was there
the tag match with the Bar? But I thought it was fun. It was a fun match. They came out on the New Day came out on magic carpet. That's pretty awesome. I don't think that the smoke machines weren't really cooperating with them. They kind of engulfed the New Day in smoke and kind of ruined the effect a little bit. But it was still, it was cute. It was funny. It was a nice little, New Day always has some kind of innovative entrance at big shows. So I like that. I like that aspect of it.
Yeah. So overall,
we also could say about Kurt Angle that Kurt Angle looked pretty damn. He looked okay. He looked representative of what I would imagine Kurt Angle would look like now. He did all of his trademark spots, and it
was weird. Did you see when Angle was on the mat and he was getting pinned for the 1, 2, 3? Did you see his face, his reaction, and his neck? No, I'm not saying he got injured. He's not injured, but he looked weird. It was like. He was blinking. I don't know. It's very weird.
It's Kurt Angle. Everything he does is kind of weird now. He's. I really think that the pills really altered him for good. He walks crooked and he talks like he has he's permanently kind of drunk, slipping out, just tripping over his tongue all the time. I just think that's his normal. I think that's his face now. I just think that's it. Some people have that resting bitch face, and Kurt Angle's got resting drunk face, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, the drugs and neck surgery, Brian said in the chat. So, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So, overall, the show sucked. It was a house show, televised house show. And here we are. We've been talking about it for almost an hour now.
Oh, there you go. Well, I can't put a bow on it any better than that. The show sucked. I got to agree. I don't like the booking decisions they made. Shawn Michaels came back, didn't feel like a big deal. Hulk Hogan came back, didn't feel like a big deal. Just it was a show that happened, and we'll move on from it. And I'm kind of interested to see what they do on Monday.
I hope there's no Hogan, and I hope there's no Michaels.
You might be disappointed.
And Monday night after Raw, it's going to be Mike Tedesco and Victoria.
And my wife, Victoria. Yes, sir.
With your 14th show, right?
I think so. I'm lucky. That's my lucky number, 14. So I'm really looking forward to this show, and we love doing that podcast every week. We appreciate everybody who tunes in, and listens to us, just like we appreciate everybody who's tuning in, and listening to us right now. And the chat's very, very lively, which is nice to see. And we're on Spotify. We're everywhere now. We're on iTunes. You can listen to our podcast whenever you want. We're rocking and rolling right now. Wrestleview's going strong. I think. What's it? You would know better than anybody.
Wrestleview's doing record-breaking numbers, actually. You can even ask Adam about that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we've ever received as much hits as we have been receiving over the last few months.
That's it. And that's why we're happy to be doing a podcast every Monday, keep people on the site watching us more, listening to us, I've always wanted, I love doing podcasts and stuff like that. I love talking about wrestling. And it just blows my mind that people want to hear me talk about wrestling. So, it's a fun thing. And, but the state of the union is strong for Wrestleview. I've got to say that. So it's a good deal.
You know what's fun is we just spent an hour talking about the house show or Crown Jewel, sorry. And we didn't even argue or mention or talk about or discuss about them being there or not being there.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's keep that. You know, we've talked about that so many times. I told Adam, it's like beating a dead horse. Once it's done, they took their decision. They went. That's it.
Right. They already. By the time we talk about it, they were already there and they already did it. So why talk about them going there and doing it? It's already happened. So there's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing. You know, what else is there to say? If there are going to be any ramifications that come from it, you know, they're going to happen whenever they happen, and then we'll talk about it then. But for now, let's just talk. You know, we're here to talk about. It doesn't have to. You know,
you kind of cut out a bit, Mike.
Oh, sorry.
Didn't mean wire your connection. No more Wi-Fi.
I know. I no more Wi-Fi. I got to learn my lesson. Well, they took away like on these like new Macs. You don't even have a plug anymore for the.
That's your problem. It's not Wi-Fi. It's a Mac. You're using a Mac.
My bad. But you know what? We're here to talk about a wrestling show. We're here to have fun. And like I said, if there's going to be any more ramifications, you know, they're going to happen in a few weeks. You know,
I just heard Randy Orton say, "I'd rather go to Saudi Arabia and perform and not use a Mac."
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's an interesting. I missed that TMZ video, probably because it didn't load on my Mac.
I just said that because you're on your Mac. Exactly.
There you go. No, this was fun. I had a good time talking about it, even though the show stunk and my Wi-Fi kind of stinks too. It's been enjoyable to you know, break it down a little bit. Break it down.
Thank you. Is that how we're going to conclude our show?
I think so. Okay. Talk about my Mac.
2018. I'm still fucking getting Shawn Michaels and Triple H again.
keep you know, just get a bowl of it, Paul. You're gonna scoop it all up and you're gonna eat it up. That's what they're gonna do. They're force feed it to you.
It's okay.
All right.
It was a lot of fun. It was great talking to you, Mike. It was great doing the show today. And thanks again for the wonderful recap, which, by the way, Mike Tedesco does, I think, the most detailed Raw recap on the internet. And I'm challenging anyone to email me and show me a Raw report that's more detailed than Mike's report.
That's right. And not on tape delay either.
Raw. It's whether it's Raw or whether he's filling in for SmackDown or whether he's doing Crown Jewel or whatever you know show is on. This guy does the most detailed report online.
Oh, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Yeah, you know, I'd like to see another recap like mine. You know, especially one that's live. You know, I think that's what sets us apart. So, thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
So remember that when it's bonus time here.
I've never complimented Adam on air, so I'm gonna be jealous.
Yes. Keep watching, Martin.
Keep watching, Adam.
All right. Well, thank you, Paul. I appreciate it, and it was good talking to you. Good podcast.
All right. So this concludes the Crown Jewel post show.
Yeah, Wrestleview Live 47.
47, and tune in to Mike Tedesco and Victoria Tedesco Monday night following Raw for their 14th show recapping Raw.
Sounds good.
Have a great weekend, everybody.